LPT. When your company sends you an anonymous survey, always assume it's not. I am in charge of a team at work, and every time the company sends a survey I emphasize the same point. I strongly believe that in a real survey there is no right and wrong. I'm talking surveys about how you feel regarding certain subjects. Yet as we all know, since we're in the internet right now, anonymity gives people a huge sense of security and disregard for potential consequences. So the idea of anonymity can make people see a survey as a blank slate to vent, joke or throw insults around. Always assume any survey from your company is not anonymous. Keep it honest, but keep it respectful. Haha, we had an anonymous survey company-wide and it was administered W new software. Only HR was meant to see the actual responses. But I was the manager that discovered anyone could see everyone's entire responses with their names attached. At least, I was the manager who reported it. Who knows how many people accessed those responses before they were properly closed off. Woman shrugging. Yeah, we were sent a survey and expressly told it was anonymous, so to please answer truthfully. I stated my boss was a bull in a china shop. Can get results but not particularly concerned about offending or upsetting in the process. After reading the general results to the group, he took me aside to address my comments. When back in session, I brought the lack of anonymity to the attention of our group and damn near started a riot. My company does this every year. They pay another company to do the survey for them. Not sure why. I don't see them making any changes based on survey results. We did an anonymous survey recently, and a question was, is there anything you'd like to tell the upper management team? At the very least it implied the responses would be passed along to upper management. What it did not imply was that the responses would be read aloud to the entire company at the next all-hands meeting. Thank God, on a stroke of mistrust in our HR department, I decided to disguise my writing style just in case they did something fucky. 100%. I've been a manager of a team that has an anonymous survey. No names were used, but I could tell by the writing styles who were who. Oh, and they made sure to include the employee IDs. My old company did these anonymous surveys every now and then, ostensibly to help our managers do a better job of managing. Except I was the only direct report for my manager, so that was super anonymous. My manager is a huge micromanager, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable when he stands down the hall and looks at my monitor in the reflection of the art on the wall to see if I'm on task. When he checks his watch and sighs if I take 32 minutes for lunch instead of 30. That feels very petty. I can see him writing my time stamp on a sticky note when I leave our office for lunch. So lunch is not the mental break that it should be. It's actually filled with anxiety, clock watching, and stuffing my face as fast as I can. The fact that he positioned his stand-up desk so that he could be staring down over my shoulder as I work is very nerve-wracking and disconcerting. I asked our HR rep about the de facto lack of anonymity during the session where he was presenting this great new anonymous survey idea. And he was just like, I'll look into that, and never did. So I just never took the survey. I couldn't agree more. Only wrote down what you would say to management in person. If there's something going on that you want to tell truly anonymously, write a letter on paper. I give very few fucks about anything at work, so I feel completely fine expressing anything I'd like on employee surveys. Out of the last 10 years, I've been randomly selected 8 times to talk to whatever executive was overseeing the survey about a week afterwards. Generally still with a pretext of discussing general issues about my department. Not that I really care. I treat that survey like it's public information anyway. so I have no problem repeating myself while still being on the record. There was that time when I was back in college for a midlife career switch, and one of the teachers had prepared some statistics to find out if grades are correlated with age. But no worries, it was anonymous. So there was a graph with data points for ages 20, 21, 22, and 35. And disguise your writing style. Your supervisor doesn't have to go through HR to find out it was you if you write like you speak. My team had to do monthly surveys, and one team member always made goofball comments on his. We made a game of making all our survey comments sound like him. Agreed. My old job did an anonymous survey, but I didn't have time to complete it. About a week later, my boss said, "Hey, you're the only one to not complete the survey." I asked him how he would know that. Since the survey was anonymous, he didn't say anything. This is so frustrating to hear. I work in a field that often conducts surveys related to employee engagement, organizational climate, culture, skill, competency gaps, etc. I've been fortunate enough to work with ethical teammates who are knowledgeable about research methods. But I can always tell when we work with a group who has been burned in the past by mishandled data. It's especially frustrating because the lack of trust bred by that type of behavior is, unsurprisingly, a huge factor in why companies take on engagement or culture initiatives. One of my jobs, they have regular anonymous surveys. One of my friends saw on a project manager screen the comments with names next to them. In another, one of the senior staff read out comments and said, "Oh, that person wanting a new laptop, that will be Jeff." Regardless of anonymity, most managers try to work out who it is. A lot of time that seems more important than the feedback. I used to work for a big fancy company. The portion I worked for was managed terribly. Corporate required us to fill out an anonymous survey about our working conditions. The results came back as largely negative, particularly in regards to management. Corporate immediately sent those results back to our manager, who in turn called a meeting to go over the survey. Tell us that if we had an issue it was because we didn't understand the question, and then told us to redo the survey with the right answers. That was the first time I realized how broken the survey system can be. Yes, they would always say it was anonymous, then send the responses to the managers, and since the staff had only 10 people, and the responses were sorted by part-time and full-time, you could pretty much narrow down who said what. It was such a pain in the ass and always created so much not necessary drama that was not productive for the actual business. Yep, used to have to deal with press ganey surveys at the hospital. They were anonymous but took little to no effort to figure out who they came from based off visit date, time, and provider. Also have felt with anonymous employee satisfaction surveys that are anonymous but list which location the staff works, their position, and years of service. Again, not hard to figure out, especially if you have a unique title. I couldn't ever be honest, knowing that as the one administrator at my location it would be obvious who I was. Might depend on the company. I work for Marriott, and each year when we complete our annual associate survey, they make it as anonymous as possible. Each person picks a random 6-digit login code from a bowl and goes to a random computer which is blocked off from view. You are only asked what department you work in, and nothing more specific. Love the way they handle the results too. 6 months later, the higher execs get together and go over the results. Then a meeting is held with the associates about the results as well. Each meeting has their own say, and will offer suggestions on how best to resolve issues. 1 month later an action plan is put into place, and about 95% of the time, It is followed through. Marriott is the only company I have worked with that listens to their employees and actually follows through. They even have a jury be peers system where if an employee is going to be terminated for selected offenses, they can request a trial by their peers. Different associates who work as different hotels will meet with the accused along with the terminating HR staff as hotel execs. The employee will state their case, and if the jury decides in their favor, they're allowed back to work and don't even have anything marked in their employee file. Quite a great system actually. My workplace has a review system that determines bonuses. They send out a review your manager email, claiming it's anonymous. Yeah, not happening. At my old work, the surveys always said anonymous but required which department we worked in. It was a small company with several small departments, mine being between 2 to 3 people. I could never be fully honest because between a major difference in writing styles and lack of people, it would be very obvious it was me. I am a manager at a large tech company and we do anonymous surveys all the time. After reading a lot of these other comments, I think the big difference is we always run ours through a third party. That third party, they keep all the sensitive data private. I'm sure if someone made some kind of threat in the survey, they would raise a flag. But outside of that, I really doubt they would risk word getting out that they don't handle the results properly. With that said, I can see your written comments. If you make a comment about the coffee in Denver, and I only have one employee in our Denver office, I'm gonna know it was you. I personally have no interest in who says what, so I have no interest in finding out who says what. If a problem comes from the survey, I assume it needs to be fixed for more than just the one person that submitted it. If it's a personal problem, then that person needs to talk to me about it if they want it fixed.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.